Hello, everybody. This is Secondhand Coke, and welcome to SHC TV. Take a moment to make yourself comfortable here, slow down, speed up the rate of my speech, and make sure your volume is to your liking because we're getting started right after this. Hello, everybody. I am back, by the way. I forgot to tell you, I know it has been a good 3 or 4 weeks since I last posted, and the reason for that is I got some kind of rogue illness that took me down for a little bit of a roll in the what I thought was going to be my grave, but I'm back, I'm well, I'm fine, and I'm ready to continue my little YouTube channel as planned. So, for those of you who've waited here patiently for me, thank you so much. And hopefully, those who got out of here while the getting was good, while I wasn't posting anything, hopefully they'll find their way back soon. Otherwise, I'm sorry for the delay, and I'm sorry that I'm coming back on this older piece of news, but I do have some new things for you that I'll be pushing out in the next couple of days. And so just wanted to say hello, glad to be here, and happy to see you. So let's get started. So here we are finally with episode 6. The juice is worth the squeeze, or so they say. Today, our guests are here under the ruse that they all have like a weekly game night where they play mahjong of all things. But the guests this week are Victoria Jackson, who is the makeup artist that for some reason can't seem to lose Meghan's number out of her Rolodex. And then we have next to her Tracy Robbins. Now, Tracy Robbins is one to watch, and here is why. I have been saying for a long time that if things don't pan out with Netflix, which that is still on the back burner, nobody knows what's going on there any more clearly than we did a couple of weeks ago. But if things don't pan out with Netflix, my claim and my belief throughout has been that Meghan is going to jump ship to Paramount. And it just so happens that Tracy Robbins is the wife of Paramount co CEO Brian Robbins. And if I heard the gossip right, then I think that it was at their dinner party at the Robbins house where Harry got loaded and got sick. And it was kind of a little bit of a faux pas. But we'll see. Nonetheless, she has been honing this relationship with Paramount for quite a while, I've noticed. Number one, she's pictured with them at the Bob Marley premiere in Jamaica, where she showed up in her trash bag skirt and had to sit with the plebes under the fluorescent lighting. That was a great episode. Anyway, and then I noticed when they were on their faux royal tour to Nigeria that Miss Son Harriman was wearing a Paramount press pass. And so mark my words, something's going to come of that. I just feel it in my bones, and we'll just have to see if I'm right as usual, but that's what I'm calling. If it's not Netflix, it's going to be Paramount. Okay, so the last person on the list for the mahjong party, because Meghan's always got to appropriate at least two cultures per episode. So in this one, it's the Chinese culture and the Mexican culture. So you can be ready for that whenever that, comes about. But this woman here that is part of the Ma squad or the Zhang squad or whatever ridiculous nonsense they've concocted to call themselves because they're playing mahjong. Kind of like, do you remember when Meghan and Delphine were calling each other the P wives because the polo wives? And I still don't get it, and it still kind of gives me secondhand embarrassment for her. But anyway, the third comer to the mahjong party is Jennifer Walsh, who is the woman who opened the Godmother's bookstore. Now, if you aren't aware of the lore, supposedly Godmother's bookstore was named after a name suggested by Prince Harry, who helpfully said, because godmothers are people who look after you and make you feel good and loved and can be there for you more than even your real family. They are like your found family. And he contributed that. So good job, Harry. We'll name the bookstore after what you said. Way to go. All right, so these are the people we have up ahead of us with this episode. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We start this episode with Meghan hacking into some kind of artisan bread while some soulful ballad plays in the background about the sunlight comes around. And this is a motif that has happened over and over and over in this show, where there's either a song lyric or Meghan herself saying something just eye-openingly profound as the sun is coming, like it's gonna rise and stuff. And I'm kind of over that, because as I've explained before, that the sun will rise is a scientific certainty, though we may not see it. It should continue to do so. I would say we could depend upon it for a good, you know, year at least, barring an act of God. But I just, and I'm being facetious with a year, obviously, if things go to plan, we're looking at probably billions or trillions of years, but I don't understand it, but it keeps coming up, and so I keep commenting on it. So I'm not going to comment on it anymore. It just annoys me. So, and then we go into another motif that Meghan continually drags into her commentary, and that is about how I love feeding people. I think it's probably my love language. So tonight I'm hosting a group of friends for our regular game nights. And I've decided to set up a taco bar for us to enjoy as we play. And I was thinking of a little nourishment to start my day. So I'm going to make myself a little avocado toast. And then she sets about to whipping up some avocado toast in her rented kitchen, and which involves hulling out an avocado and frying an egg and slapping it on some of that artisan bread and being done with it. But the one part that just pissed me off, and I don't know if it's just me, and so feel free to tell me in the comments if I just need to calm down, but that bottom middle screen where you see the egg frying and then you see her closed caption, take time just to be present. She told me to she told her audience while she's frying an egg to take time just to be present. And what made me so mad is that in that moment, I actually was present. I was unfortunately present watching this stupid show, only to be told to be present by somebody who's frying an egg, who, if she herself were present, would just fry the damn egg, Meg. If you're present, fry your egg, period. You don't need to be telling people to be present. Just shut up and fry your egg and make your avocado toast, okay? So Megan makes it no secret that she loves feeding people. I mean, really loves it. And so we need to keep that in mind because I'm going to come back to it in a minute or so. And I'm going to also say that for somebody who loves feeding people, she sure doesn't like feeding her dog that much because she makes a point of saying when she goes to the refrigerator door, "Oh, look, Guy has come running to the refrigerator door. It must be his cue to eat or something." Or I don't know, you're in a kitchen cooking and you have bacon and eggs and stuff, and he has a nose. And I mean, but she doesn't give the dog anything. I mean, he's on these are his last months of life, we now know, if he actually did die in October, a few months after she said he did, or if he even existed at all. You never can tell with her. But anyway, so she makes this avocado toast, which she sits and eats on her own. And then Michael and Guy just seem to be kind of drooling there. And Michael says, "I am so not mad at that breakfast," which Megan somehow reads through and realizes that, oh, hey, maybe I should make something for the producer who's standing here. I mean, nobody's making anything for all the camera guys that are back there and, boom mic holders and lighting screens and all that kind of stuff. Forget about those guys. But we will at least make something for Michael. So she takes some of that artisan bread because God forbid she just grab a loaf of Wonder Bread and keep going. But she gets her artisan bread and she says, "Now I'm going to make you an amazing sandwich. I'm gonna make you a manwich," which I thought a manwich was like sloppy Joe, and I'm pretty sure it's trademarked. Like they were able to successfully trademark manwich as their brand, but maybe she should go to them for some advice. I don't know. Um, but she says she's making him a manwich because I don't know, women can't like here's what's on this sandwich. Okay, bacon, egg, cheese, and artisan bread. So is basically a bacon, egg, and cheese McArtisan bread. Like it's a bacon, egg, and cheese McMuffin. Yeah, that's all it is. Can women not like that? I thought she was just this super feminist that was just blazing the trails with her stilettos on the red carpets and boots on the grounds of refugee camps that have to exist so that she can walk on both, remember? But no, apparently a manwich, a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich is just for men. Sure. Anyway, manwich. So Michael gets his manwich, and while the anticipation is building up for us to watch him actually eat the damn thing, Megan is saying, the only thing better than eating food is preparing food for someone and then watching them eat it with delight. So Michael dips his head down. He's like, "All right, everybody." And then he takes a bite into this normal looking breakfast sandwich and then is just like, "Oh my God." And Megan's like, It's good, isn't it? It's good, isn't it?" And then we fade into the opening titles that have been scribed by Megan's own hand that they've digitized into her very own font. That drives me nuts. I know I keep talking about the day that will come wherein I do a handwriting analysis as an episode on here on her because she tells all kinds of tales with her handwriting, but it's gonna happen, and when it does, I'm personally gonna feel a lot better because it needs to be done. This woman is obsessed with her handwriting, and yes, that means something. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to interpolate that that would mean that she is obsessed with herself and her own personality, because that's what it does mean, in fact. Speaking of narcissism, remember how I said when Megan said that she just loves cooking for people and watching them eat? And she's got this whole thing where she's just obsessed with watching someone eat that something she's just cooked. Well, isn't it funny that narcissists tend to like to do the same type of thing? Now, I'm not gonna diagnose anyone with narcissism, and probably I think a lot of people get the narcissism diagnosis maybe unfairly. I think maybe it's a spectrum narcissism. I think there's like a pathological narcissism, and then it just goes on up the spectrum to normal person all the way to empathetic person, which is kind of narcissistic itself. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it. I don't claim to be, but I've pulled some articles from various sources that you can uh, parse through on your free time if you want to. I'll include them in the program notes. But just note over there on the second article, second paragraph, where it says narcissists don't willingly give without expecting something in return, and food is no exception. And this is part of, looks like, intellectual psychological resource research given the proper citation, APA citation afterwards. Um, anyway, so I'm not saying she poisons people or anything, but it is a way to control people, whether it's, doing so in a good way that is in fact bringing somebody enjoyment, or if it is a way to, or if you're the kind of narcissist who, either imposes a clean plate club at your house rule, and you force your kids to eat every mouthful, or you encourage them to eat past being full, or you have them sit up all night into the dark until they do eat every mouthful, which they never, in fact, do sometime until the very dawn of day, like I have seen experienced. Or I think that's a part of Mommy Dearest, is it not? Huh. Another narcissist there. Anyway, it's an interesting topic looking at the ties between narcissism and between food and cooking, and how much food is about control, and how many eating disorders, either overeating or undereating, can be traced back to a narcissistic abuser somewhere in one's past. Maybe, or in theory. Think about it. Think about your own experiences, and if you have experiences along these lines, please feel free to share in the comments. I think it's an interesting topic. If it's not true, it is definitely at least interesting to think about, or it is to me. And now we have the obligatory scene where Megan arranges some flowers. And we can tell this time that Megan is going to show us how to take flowers that are cheap and make them look like flowers are expensive. How do we know that? Well, first of all, instead of carrying her bougie canvas bag that says save the world or whatever she carries around when just walking back and forth outside of press offices outside of Kensington Palace waiting to be photographed. This time she's carrying just plastic, because apparently we don't need to necessarily save the world all the time, such as when buying cheap flowers and when taking airplane rides. Anyway, her whole point with this is that just because somebody at the grocery store made a flower arrangement in a certain way doesn't mean you have to do it. And so the way that you get around it is you take it all apart and you sort it by flowers, and then you kind of, put this grid on your vase, and then Michael, whoever is your Michael, will helpfully say, "Oh, that does not look like a store-bought bouquet." And then you'll look at it and it looks like those bramble on the beach where it's constantly wind blown sideways. Just all her floral arrangements look like that. That's what they look like, is that the bramble and the low brush trees and that are on the side of the beach that just constantly are warped by the ocean air. Okay, so we're back in the house after the floral experiment. And here, Megan has decided that she is going to walk us through the steps of creating our own plantain chips to go along with our own Mexican food mahjong night, game night menu for our own mahjong party. So she's going to be hammering through those things and slicing them and talking about how, she's going to bake them in olive oil and sprinkle stuff on them and whatnot. But what was most interesting to me about this is she's talking about how whoever hosts game night with the girls provides the food for game night with the girls. And so Megan says, homemaker that she is, I thought instead of just ordering food in, um, I found this great local chef, and so he's going to help me put together a taco bar with some chicken tinga and ceviche, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, so you could have just ordered the food from that restaurant. You could have ordered that very food. He and his sous chefs and whoever's working the restaurant that night could have got that out to you, and you could have brought it to your house and set it up in some trifling display cases for your guests to think it looks special or whatever. But instead of ordering food in, you ordered the chef in. Who does this? I cannot imagine the kind of gall it takes to call up a restaurant and it's like, yeah, I just wanted to order your chef to come over and teach me how to make some of the food that's on the menu that you have right now. What in the world? I mean, on one hand, I can understand the chef doing it because this is going to pull in a large audience and it is going to be good for his business. And I am glad that of the people who have taken a hit for participating in this show, the chefs haven't. I mean, what they've done is they've, increased their business profile, and good for them. But what imbecile thinks this is a good idea? I just don't understand. Oh my God. Anyway, so then she goes into this whole thing where, she's almost prayerful. She's just beatifically looking up towards the sky with her eyes closed, as if invoking the spirit of Mother Mary right in that moment, saying, I love Mexican food. I'm from LA. I love Mexican food. I'm from LA. It's such a huge part of our culture. So it's not that she loves Mexican food on its own merit. It's just good. She's from LA, and so she tasted some of it like growing up. And so, yeah, go ahead, Megan. Appropriate Mexican food as well. That's all yours. It's all you because you grew up in LA. People grow up in LA. Meg, you're hardly special. Hardly. Um, anyway, and she goes on into, it's such a huge part of our culture and our understanding of growing up in such a diverse area. And I swear, she is sometimes so full of shit. I cannot even deal with it. I just can't. But that's what she's doing right here. Now, here comes one of my favorite parts. She's going through the plantain chip, recipe, whatever. But then she's trying to crack into this one plantain and she's like, oh, this is a protected plantain. This is like a mama's grip on a baby. Don't you go there. That's how she says it. This is a protected plantain. This is like a mama's grip on a baby. Don't you go there. Like like she knows anything about that or having a protected grip on a newborn baby. I mean, need we remember this? At first, I thought it might be beneath me to bring this back up, but no, it's not beneath me. I can go lower than this even. So don't you guys worry. Like a mama's grip on a baby. I could grab that baby by the toe and yank him out of her hands and safely into my own embrace, and she wouldn't know what hit her. She is so not holding that baby with any desire to keep him close or to keep him supported or anything like that. But don't worry, guys, top right, she can always find a camera to grin into, even when she's about to drop a newborn on a polo pitch. I I don't understand. So, that aside, now comes the time for Chef Ramon Velasquez to come in and teach Meghan how to do chicken tikka and fresh ceviche. And, even Meghan has stepped out of the room to freshen up, just so we know, at this time period. And even then, you can still hear her trifling self in the background going, I don't know if you understand my love of Mexican cuisine. Oh my gosh. And then, of course, we're treated to his name and her calligraphy. Praise be. Okay. Now let's see how Meghan has chosen to freshen herself up to cook in this kitchen with Chef Ramon Velasquez. There it is. Meghan has freshened up by taking off a perfectly sensible orange shirt dress, which would have, thrown an apron over it, would have been very sensible to cook in. And she has changed into a little black dress and is flirting away with this chef that she's recruited from a local restaurant. And so he goes through the steps of making the tikka and the the ceviche, and Meghan proves that she knows words like mirepoix, and we all are impressed. And then he's trying to tell a little bit about his story, and you can just see her sitting there staring at him, like with that flirtatious look, but with that look that definitely is saying, in just a minute, I'm just going to say something else about myself. So it doesn't really matter what you're saying at this time. They're making the tikka, and Chef Velasquez is saying, this is a recipe that I learned from one of my cooks. And that it was different because the cook presented it, and Chef Velasquez was impressed with it that night. And it was because it was on a staff night, a staff meal. And so the cook had just kind of put into it what he or she felt like doing, or and dressed it up in a way that was maybe off, the given recipe for restaurant nights. And Meghan just jumps all into this like she has ever worked for a restaurant in her life and ever been to a staff night in her life. And she starts pontificating about, oh, I just love staff night. It's the feeling of community. That cook was probably listening to the music and just cooking from their heart. I want to come for a staff meal. And then Velasco was like, that'd be amazing. And I'm wondering if it's amazing, like, Jesus appearing on roller skates in the middle of Central Park, amazing, or if he's just saying, yeah, that'd be amazing. Like, to be honest, Meghan, the way Meghan uses amazing most of the time. So now that she's got the food prepared, the guest stars start rolling in. And of course, they roll in by name with their name personally calligraphied by hers truly. So the first one who rolls in is Tracy Robbins, who again is wife of Brian Robbins, the CEO of Paramount. And I'm telling you now, just like I've been telling you for about a year, if it doesn't pan out with Netflix, do not be surprised if you see something start to come together between Meghan and Paramount. Now, you heard it from me first. I'm pretty sure about that. Anyway, so Meg tells Tracy, why don't we start making some cocktails for the girls who are coming? And what kills me is that Tracy just doesn't even lift a finger to start helping, as she should not, because you don't ask your guests. I mean, when it's my mom and her sisters, yeah, that's one thing. But like, or yourself and your family, or your truly good friends. But if you've got people over that you barely know, especially when they're ranked above you, as these people are, Meghan, you don't sit there and give them assignments to do in your kitchen. And she tries to do it with Tracy, and Tracy's just like, yeah, no, I don't think I'll be doing that. And you can see the four mason jars that she placed in front of Tracy, wanting her to make the margaritas for all the ladies, and that didn't work out. So the next person that comes in is the Jennifer Rudolph Walsh, who is the Godfather's bookseller, founder, and supposed friend of Meghan. And she says, oh, no, I don't want anything tonight except for a margarita. Okay. Because with these people, getting drunk is like a sport. It's competitive, it's repetitive, and there hasn't been a show where Meghan hasn't been throwing it back from the very first second to the very last second of each of these episodes. And then Victoria Jackson shows up, the makeup artist or makeup founder, and Meghan somehow gets one of these ladies to start chopping that ginormous cucumber there. But above that, that's all that happens when these ladies come in. And then on our next slide, we see Meghan start to make her own cocktails out of the four mason jars. So good for you, Victoria. Or no, it wasn't Victoria. It was Tracy. Good for you, Tracy. Don't do what that hag says to do. You do your own thing. Okay, as usual, when it comes time to show the plates of food, it all looks really delicious. And here it is there. You can see the ceviche in the top left corner, the whole spread, the whole plating and arrangement, everything looks nice. Even kind of her carnation flower arrangement, but not really. Up there in the top right. Down at the bottom is the chicken tikka, and then you've got the taco shells and fixings and whatnot. But yeah, it looks like a lot of good stuff to eat, which when you rent your own chef to come into your home to fix food for people to eat, that would kind of be the expectation. But there it is in its physical form, looking delicious and ready to eat. Now, we never want to skip the portion of the show where the guests fall all over Meghan and how wonderful she is. So, in this case, we've got, is that Jackson, Jennifer Jackson there. And she is saying, it could be the busiest day, and Meg's worried about every single person's preferences, their dietary needs. And then Jennifer goes on, and everything is perfection. And then we'll get into our game. So, thank God we've not gone an episode without somebody fully expounding on how Meghan is just the greatest person to ever person around the world. We also get the part of the episode where they all sit and remember the first time they ever got together and did this particular activity, which in this case is play mahjong together. Remember, they are calling themselves the Ma Boss. No, Ma bosses or jong bosses or some kind of slang thing like that she always tries to make things work and it never does. But anyway, so Tracy has her lines and she says, do you remember the first time we played this ever? And then she laughs like, I can't even believe we were that provincial. She's like, we didn't know what we were doing. I felt like I wanted to raise my hand, which I felt like was a natural way to kind of communicate with camera, as everybody seems to communicate with camera more naturally than our professional, A-list actress, if you would believe her PR, which never believe her PR. And then she pipes up and she's like, yeah, we've been such a great support system, and we've definitely just helped each other. And that is why it's been so fun. Is it, Meghan? Is it really, though, why it's been so fun? Because you've been there to help each other play a competitive game? Is that it? I guess. And the show ends with exactly these kind of comments to each other, where Jennifer Jackson says, yeah, we're a cheerleading group for one another. We always are helping each other out. And then Rudolph or Walsh is like, yeah, we get to make order out of chaos. And then Tracy says, that's true. And then Jennifer's like, well, we're still in a chaos moment. And they laugh, and then the screen goes dark and they sign off. And hello, everybody. I am back, by the way. I forgot to tell you. I know it has been a good 3 or 4 weeks since I last posted, and the reason for that is I've got some kind of rogue illness that took me down for a little bit of a roll in what I thought was going to be my grave. But I'm back. I'm well. I'm fine. Ready to continue my little YouTube channel as planned. So for those of you who've waited here patiently for me, thank you so much. And hopefully those who got out of here while the getting was good, while I wasn't posting anything, hopefully they'll find their way back soon. Otherwise, I'm sorry for the delay, and I'm sorry that I'm coming back on this older piece of news, but I do have some new things for you that I'll be pushing out in the next couple of days. And so just wanted to say hello, glad to be here, and happy to see